some of those questions that I had on you, like with all these little tidbits you give me. I'm like, oh man, I need to know more. We got a lot in here. I think we could do this again and even dive deeper in some stuff, which would be really cool. But how do people get a hold of you? Where do you have a website that you want to share? And
yeah, thegoalguide.com. We have a Facebook community called Relentless Goal Achievers. I have a podcast called Relentless Goal Achievers. And Eric Konovalov, anywhere you look, there aren't too many of me.
Kona of Olives. I know
Kona
that.
of Olives, yeah.
I seen that on LinkedIn. That way people will know
That's
how
how I
to
broke it down. Yeah.
But that's great. So I hope people reach out to you. If you're looking for a mortgage, reach out to us at,
Sure.
You can look me up. I'm on every social network, Facebook, Twitter. You can go to cgalley at novishomemortgage.com and you can find that if you want mortgage questions. But again, thanks for coming out today, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to be your friend,
Yeah.
man. It's great. And,
Likewise.
And a coach to me. So thank you.
Thank
and
you.
Thank you guys all for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.
All right. Eric, man. What's
Yo.
up, brother?
Chris, good
Awesome
to
to
see
actually I see you every week on your coaching thing that you do for us with the Relentless Goal Achievers. And now you get to sit here in our podcast studio, and we're super excited with Mortgage Matters with Chris. And just so people know, we're not going to just talk about mortgages on this thing. We touch on it, but I'm really interested in, I want the people that are watching this and listening to this to hear your story, because it's amazing. Having your background coming from not just Russia, right? From the USSR at a time where it was probably difficult to get out of. And I want to walk down that journey of where you are today, from coming here as a refugee, serving our country as a Marine, not only a Marine, right? Decorated Marine with multiple tours, right? Am I right? I don't. Yep. People like you don't want people bragging on you, but I think it's important that people know who you are as a person, and that carries through your business. So what I want to do is I want to just kind of talk through what brought you to Lakewood Ranch. We're going to talk about a bunch of different subjects, and you're going to kind of carry us through what you do for people in your business, and how not only how you help me. I mean, our book club, I think right now we're doing Think and Grow Rich. I've read that book. I think the first time I read it was around 2002. One of my mentors says, you got to read this book. And I think I read it probably 10 times, but every single time you're bringing out some new stuff that I didn't even catch the first time. So I think it's very important for any business leader. I don't think you have to be a business professional, right, to get on your call. If you just want to be better in life, these are life skills. You can take a lot of the skills that you offer and teach to your home, to your family, your kids, your wife, your husband, whoever it is, right? Take it to the other people that you surround yourself with, whether it's in your workplace. So let's just get right started. Tell me, man, as we're sitting here, just a little bit more about your journey. You fed me. We met 2 years ago at F3. For those people that don't know what F3 is, it's an awesome thing that you can do at 5:30 in the morning or 5 in the morning if you're crazy enough, and we work out. And I think that shows a testament of, I don't want to say, because I'm not going to brag on me, but who you are. You get up early, feed your body and soul, and through those experiences, you shared tidbits of this stuff, right? I get little pieces and bites in them. Want to know more. So now I got you for an hour.
Oh, dude, thank you.
Now you're going to give me more. You're going to tell me, just walk me through that journey, just for 5-10 minutes on how you got here and your passion on helping other people achieve their goals like you achieved yours.
For sure. So You want to go back to USSR days?
Well, I guess just start like how your family got here. What happened to bring your family here? I mean, it was a hard time back then. So you were probably what, young kid?
I was 9 years old.
Okay.
Got here, I was 10. So the immigration process back then was a little bit harder than it is now. Like, you can't just go to Texas and show up, right?
Sorry, get a free hotel and a free phone.
Yeah, they weren't doing that back then. So back then, just to give you an idea, so USSR was huge. And the part I was at was Azerbaijan. It's right down by the Caspian Sea.
Okay.
Across the sea, you see Turkey. That's the region of the world. So majority of the people, like majority of Azerbaijan is Muslim.
Okay.
We're Jewish. And then the Armenian population, most of them are Christian. Now, there was fighting going on between Azeris and Armenians, but I don't think it was religious. It was territorial, still going on to this day. And so my mom was divorced. She ended up meeting a guy who had a cousin who lived in the U.S., and his wife passed away. He got 2 daughters, so we kind of like almost won the lottery there, where she got married and he was on his way to the U.S.
Okay.
But I'll tell you, man, growing up, I remember my school was probably like 4 blocks away from home. I remember walking to school, and there's like a tank on the corner. There are people fighting. It was crazy to just think about how just walking to school, how that was,
Compared to your kids, right? That walk in Lakewood Ranch to school. Like, what a
no tanks in Lakewood Ranch. Yeah, if you guys are looking to move anywhere where there's no tanks on the corner, Lakewood Ranch, I haven't seen a tank yet.
Polar opposite,
yeah. My kids, I mean, they can come out of the house, go ride a bike, and I mean, I love this area. Anyway, we'll get to that. So back then, the immigration process, I don't know exactly what this was, but this was help to get Jews out of an area where there was potential danger there. So we were Jewish refugees out of the former USSR. And the process was you had to go live in Austria, in Vienna, and then in Italy, right outside of Rome, while they're figuring it out. And then some people end up in Israel, some people end up in the U.S. All of my cousins, aunts, uncles, they're in Israel.
Wow.
Yeah. So I have a ton of family that ended up in Israel. We ended up in Baltimore, Maryland. Right, so I don't know what's safer, Azerbaijan or Baltimore.
Baltimore, though?
There should have been tanks in Baltimore, but there were no tanks in Baltimore. So here I am, a kid, 10 years old. I'm a minority, dude. Kids are making fun of me. I don't know how to speak English. I'm getting clothes from Goodwill. I'm wearing sisters' hand-me-downs, and I just get beat up every single day. Coming home from school, just get beat up like clockwork.
It was a battlefield, right? You had probably 10. I had 10 different routes home because I had kids chasing me home all the time. So I was like, which route do I take today, right?
I had one route home because I didn't grow up here. I just knew one route. And, parents, they're absent, right? 2 immigrant parents. My stepfather he went to work at some factory. My mom, at the time, she got a job at some nail salon. She was a teacher at a university in Russia, but there's no English. So now she's like working at a nail salon, working at a gas station. So my mom would leave the house at 7 a.m. and not come home till like 11 p.m. And then stepdad had a heart attack. And he survived, but he couldn't work at whatever he was doing. So then he became a cab driver. So this is, we moved into a 2-bedroom apartment. It was 6 of us.
Wow.
He had 2 daughters. It was me, my sister, and my mom. So I remember the room. I mean, still way better than the living conditions that we were used to in Russia, right? I'm grateful. I had a color TV here,
And you could have your choice of what you watch, too. I'm sure it was a little different, too.
Yeah, I remember there was 3 channels when I was growing up. So our room, I still remember this, Chris. Like, you walk into the apartment, there's the living room, a little kitchen, and then at the end of the hall is the parents' bedroom, and in that hallway to the left was the kids' bedroom. So when you walk in, your shin hit the twin bed, and there was 4 twin beds from the window to the room. I don't even think the door closed. So you just walk in, and the whole room is just twin beds. And so mine was by the window, and I would wake up early and hop over my sisters to come out and go watch Bugs Bunny. And that That was childhood, man.
That was it, man. So, I mean, where were you in the pecking order of all of these?
I got
kids?
2 older, 1 younger.
Okay, so you were right in the middle. So you were
Yeah.
kind of, and to be honest, you were probably the king of the house because you were the only boy. Was
I
that
don't think
true?
I've ever been king in any house, man. As the only boy, you know, growing up with a single mom, your mom's teaching you how to be a man. It's like
Which
you
is tough,
you
right?
eat last, you open the door, you do all the stuff that men are supposed to do. Never ever get a snack if your sister doesn't have a snack. Never ever do this unless you're, you know, and that's
great, though.
good
I
leader.
mean,
Yeah, it's great now. It wasn't great when I was 10. I wanted that lollipop. Why'd I have to share it?
Oh,
you know?
there's no more lollipop. Sorry,
Yeah.
Eric. You're out.
That's right.
You're
Not
the
talking-
man.
I still don't talk to my sister over that.
Let's fast forward. So then you, I don't know about you, but I grew up in a very similar situation, right? Where I was very poor. We were very poor. I think I was 10 going on 11, and I got a job. My first job as a paper route. I mean, my brother and I had 150 customers, which was huge. It was the biggest paper route. We actually were featured in the paper. And my brother was younger than me even. So he was like 9.5. So we split this route up, and I remember every day. And I look back, I didn't know what I was doing then, but I was praying or manifesting my dream of where I am today for real, because I would pedal those bikes. And if we went to McDonald's, if we ever did once a year, we would not get Happy Meals, right? We would be getting a burger, and splitting a fry, right? That was once a year thing. You probably can relate to that situation, right? And I remember pedaling my bike and I was saying, someday, I mean, I'm doing this stuff in the snow, in the cold, in the rain. Someday I'm going to live somewhere warm. I'm never going to have to do this stuff. I'm going to be able to eat what I want, get what I want. I'm going to have money. So as I'm manifesting all of this stuff, it all came to fruition in the future. But I had a drive, which sounds like you're living in a room with 3 other people and girls, not even boys, right? And
Yeah.
you must have been getting up every day saying, someday I'm going to have that big house that you're walking past on your way to school. You know, you must be imagining all this stuff, and you kind of fast forward to today, you're here. But you took another road that many people don't take, right? And that's, you took the path to serve the country you came to, which I think we just want to touch on that, because I'm sure some of the things you were taught a lot by your mom, right? She gave you great guidance. She set the path for you to be the man who you are today. And then you go to the Marines. Now, I went through Marine Corps boot camp, so I know what you go through, right? It's no joke. You take it to the next level. You walk different. I mean, you can tell by the way you walk today how you walk.
Oh, yeah.
So not only did you go to the Marines, but you went in a tough time, right? Where 9/11, you went through.
I went before.
You went right before
So-
9/11. So you went into 9/11.
Yeah. So I came in 99. So
Okay.
June of 99, I graduated high school. And
Go into that story, but bring me when did you know you were going to go in to serve the country when you were in high school? How did that happen?
like, I know you want like this hero story.
I don't. I just want to know the story.
You guys are gonna like me less after this story, okay? So I'll share it with you. 16 years old. I'm probably working at a Giant. It's like a Publix here in Florida, right? And back then, you couldn't take the shopping carts out to the car. People had to leave their cart, drive up to what's called parcel pickup, and there was a guy that put the groceries in the trunk, and I would make tips like crazy, right? So it was me and this other dude that was there, and he was a Vietnam era Marine. So, and I loved him, man. His name was Robert, just a really cool dude. And so he would tell me these stories about Marine Corps in Vietnam, and nobody served in my family here. My grandparents fought in World War II, but no military history in the U.S. And by this point, I'm 17 years old, and I knew college wasn't for me. As you can imagine, Chris, absent parents, running the streets.
You weren't doing homework, right?
I was not doing homework. I got held back in one of the grades. I got expelled 3 times. I got expelled in 7th grade, 9th grade, 10th grade for stupid shit, like fighting and drugs and like just knucklehead, right? So my friends, some of them are going to college. Me, I know college isn't for me. I can't wait to stop education. So I'm like seeing Army commercials on TV. I'm like, well, there's Army and there's Navy. I'll go check that out. So I found a recruiting station. This recruiter, they had, like all 4 offices are in there. So I go into the Army guy's office, and he looks like Peter Griffin.
Right.
Listen, I know some Army dudes who are very fit. This is not against Army. I'm just sharing my experience. he looked like Peter Griffin and his shirt was untucked and he might have had a stain, like glasses. And I was like, man, this is not what, guy was not in good shape. And then the Air Force guy was not in his office. The Navy guy looked like his twin brother. And so by this point, I'm disappointed. I'm walking out, and from some corner I hear, "Are you two chicken S to come in here?" And, you know, me being a 17-year-old badass, right? I'm looking in the corner. So this guy's sitting there. He looks like Johnny Bravo, right? He's got muscles coming. I'm like, this is the first time I ever fell in love with a man, you know? He's sitting there like this. Behind him are pictures of guys like Jason Bearden, you know, with sniper rifles on the beach and on their Humvees. And him and everybody's like shredded and ripped. And he was a sergeant at the time. He was wearing what's called Service Charlies. So he's
short sleeve.
Short sleeve with, or maybe he was in Deltas. Blue pants with the red stripe, short sleeve green shirt with the ribbons, and hair slicked back. I mean, he's a beautiful, beautiful man. So this is Saturday morning. And it tells me all about the Marines. That Monday he came to my school, Chris. And every girl I had a crush on.
Loved this guy.
I mean, they talked about him for the rest of the week. Like, oh my God, he's so dreamy, he's so handsome. That's how I made the decision to go into the Marine Corps, right? So this is June of 99. And as soon as I graduated high school, I went in. It was about June 8th was my date that I entered. And I came out of boot camp. So South Carolina, Parris Island, man. In June,
what battalion?
July, August. I was 1st Battalion.
Okay.
Yeah. 3rd Battalion or 1st?
I was
battalion?
3rd.
No, 1066. Yeah. 1st Battalion.
Yeah.
1066 in 99. Anyway, so we go. You know, it's hot there, and there's some bugs and sand fleas, and all that is
Fire
true
ants.
with fire ants, the sand flea. Yeah. So it makes you a man, but it wasn't like a heroic thing. Like 9/11 happened, and Eric is like, I gotta go and protect the U.S. I wish it was like that, but it's not. And so right after 9/11 happened, I was actually on 10 days leave because we were going to go on what's called a MU, Marine Expeditionary Unit. There's a Marine force there's a MU that's always in the Mediterranean. There's a few MUs that are there that's part of a MEF, whatever. And that's why Marines are different, right? I mean, if you think about it, why do you need Marines?
You clear the path.
You got the Army, but, I think the way I understand it, why you need them, and I'm not like a military strategist, is Army is very huge, right? So is the Air Force and the Navy. Marines tell you they'll be anywhere in the world within 96 hours. So it's a ready force to go quickly, right? So they're always in the Med, and that was our turn to go to the Med. I remember before 9/11, we got the itinerary. We were supposed to leave September 30th or something, beginning of October, end of September. And we got the itinerary of like New Year's in Italy. Like we were going to go to Sigonella. We were going to go to Rome. We're spending time in Israel, hit up Spain, Greece. I'm like, yeah, boy, this is going to be awesome. Man, 9/11 happened. Went to some crap hole in Albania for a quick training workup. Went to Egypt and then headed right to Afghanistan.
No, man. Brutal, right?
Yeah.
So what did you learn out of all those experiences for the 8 years? I believe you were in for 8 years, right?
I was in for 8, yeah.
So from 98, 99, all the way to
99 through 2007, yeah.
Okay. So what were some of the things that you learned there? So we know what you learned from your young years for leaders. You were a leader in a sense, right? You didn't know what you were leading, but you were strong-willed. You saw what you wanted. You go in the Marines. Then that's a leadership school. I mean, really what you learn, right, is you learn how to lead. Because, if the guy in front of you goes down, you take over.
But you also learn how to follow.
Exactly. That's true. That's a good point.
And that's hard for a 17-year-old with no parental guidance.
Yeah.
Right? There's a lot of ego involved in that. Let some guy come up and yell at you, right? Because I was that guy. Somebody showed me Full Metal Jacket right before I went in.
How many times you watched that? I must have watched that 20 times before I went in. Just that first 30 minutes.
Oh, it's amazing, right? The boot camp. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, right. He ain't going to yell at me like that. Yeah. Man.
You respect them when they're beasts, right?
I cried. Dude, I literally cried. Tears coming out of my eyes in boot camp. I'll tell you what happened. I'm the joker. Always been. But drill instructors in Marine Corps, you don't joke with them. So I don't remember exactly what happened. We're out doing whatever games we were playing all day long, and the drill instructor's in my face yelling, and I said some like smart ass thing to him, and he broke down and started laughing. So like he broke his bearing, because it's all an act with those guys.
Yeah.
They're not really like that. So he starts laughing, and he covers his face and walks away.
You're gonna pay for that.
So later in the evening, this is the time we're writing letters and polishing our boots. This is when you still polished boots, because then they went to like the Timberland style where you didn't have to polish them. That was really cool. But we had jungle boots, you had to polish them. And you get letters, you write letters, and I'm writing letters. And then the most uncomfortable freaking thing a man can do to you is whisper in your ear very softly. I mean, for some dudes, I have a trust issue with that. Like, I don't like that stuff. Like, if you're a guy, don't whisper in my ear. And there's this little whisper in my ear. And they called me Spy because I'm from Russia. So I was like, hey, Spy.
Oh, that's funny.
You think it's cool to make me laugh, huh, Spy? Get over to the other squad bay. And so there was a squad bay. That's where we were. It's about, platoon starts off with about 90 Marines. Mm-hmm. There was an empty one. And you walk in and it's just like, 2 rows on each side of the center. And it's just bunk beds up and down, right? And so we went to the other squad bay, and the other 2 drill instructors were there. So there's a senior drill instructor, and then your 3 kind of pit bulls. The senior's more like your mother.
Yeah, he's like your daddy.
He's the daddy, right? He's the nice guy. But he wasn't in there. So these guys, they're in there, and they're like Tasmanian devils. These are the guys that they kick in the door at 5 a.m. They're throwing trash cans. They're, get out of my bed, get out of my bed. The energy that comes out of there is like an atomic bomb, right? Just stored into these 3 little bodies. So they're lined up, and here I come. And I'm already in my little PT gear, little green shorts and socks. And they're like, put your arms out. So I put my arms out like this, and they stack rifles on. So these are M16 A2 service rifles. They're about a little over 7 pounds.
8 pounds, right?
7 point something. Jason will probably know better than I do, but it's 7 point something pounds. So, and you cannot drop your rifle. Your rifle cannot hit the deck.
Never.
At all. So I got my arms out, and there's probably 3 rifles on it at this point, right? So you got 21 pounds. I'm like this, and they're like, squat. So I get in a squat, arms out. He's like, duck walk.
Oh.
I'm holding a rifle. I got 2 or 3 on my arms, and I'm duck walking.
Man, I can feel it.
Oh my God, man. I wanted to cry. I mean, I did cry. Like, tears started coming out of my eyes, because I don't know what else to do with that.
The more you cried, the more they smiled, I'm sure.
Yeah, I wasn't like boo-hooing, but I had tears, and I'm like,
knew it was...
yeah, no, it was pain. I don't even know why I cried. Like, because of the physical pain, because it's just...
It's exhausting.
You're broken down because there's 3 dudes telling you at this point to squat and duck walk holding rifles. That's heartbreaking as a kid.
It is.
Builds character.
And that was in the boot. So once you did your job, let's go to where you're getting out. So I really want to get into where you're today, like what you're doing and the differences and the impact that you're making on a lot of different people today. When you got out, I know for guys like you and me, right, there's not a lot of options and opportunities. So we don't have that diploma. So what do? We do sales. They'll take anybody, right?
Let me just back up really quick.
Yeah.
So when I was going in, I was 17. My mom had to sign for me.
Okay.
And when she was signing, she said, I'll sign on one condition. You get a college degree. And I'm like, okay, whatever. Who thought she'd remember?
All right.
So here I am getting out. She's like, so what college did you sign up for?
You're like, I did it. Marine Corps
What are you talking about? And so I actually, as I got my first job in sales, and we can go back to that, I was going nights and Saturdays to
good
University of Maryland University College, and ended up getting a bachelor's degree.
Because you really, at that point, I think that I hit a stage in my life where I wanted to learn stuff I wanted to learn. Then I was 100% locked in. But if it was something I wasn't interested in, or it didn't, interest me, I couldn't even get past to do it, which is why school was so hard for someone probably like you and I, because
I don't
half
care.
the classes you don't care. It's like what, and then you're little, right? You're young, you want to go outside and play. We want to just burn off steam all the time, right? You go home, you want to play basketball, soccer, whatever it is that you were into, but just go, play with your buddies. You don't want to go sit down and do homework. I just did this crap for 8 hours.
Yeah, and we're kinesthetic learners. I mean, me and you are very similar. So I'm sitting there tapping a pen or clicking pen, and that's the only time I'm paying attention. And the teacher's like, stop tapping the pen, pay attention. As soon as that pen goes down, I'm turned off. I don't listen to anything.
You're back at the house.
Yeah.
So walk me through, now that you're out, you go back to school, you get your bachelor's degree, right? You're learning. What was your passion at the time you were in school? Did you know what direction you wanted to go?
No, I didn't. It wasn't like a traditional, I'm going back to school full time. So I got out and I got a job, and I was selling copiers in Baltimore. So it was a sales job. When I was getting out, monster.com was a thing. So I uploaded my resume. Let me back up. I was a part of a very small unit before I was getting out. I didn't want to get out. All right. I wanted to stay in. I wanted to retire because I was going to re-enlist for my 3rd term, but I was in love. And my girlfriend at the time, wife now, who you know, Julia.
Yeah.
And if you guys meet Julia, you'll know why I got out.
He upgraded.
Yeah. No, I upgraded. So she said, I can't do, this isn't the life I want. And, I'd rather have you here, either me or the Marine Corps pretty much. So it was a hard decision, but I ended up getting out. And so I went to my commanding officer. Me and him were very close. Called him Flip. I was like, hey, sir, I'm getting out. What the hell am I going to do when I'm out? And he's like, listen, with all the BS you've sold me through the years, you should get into sales. And I'm like, I don't know what sales is, but all right, let's do it. So I started applying on monster.com. Julia helped me with the resume. And at this point, I'm 26 years old. I've never had a legit corporate job, right? I mean, high school, Marine Corps. Yeah. And every Aflac freaking agency called me up. So I didn't know what that was. I went to interview. Yeah. But what people don't realize is in the Marine Corps, whether I'm sick, I'm not sick, I'm working, not working, 1st and 15th, you get paid. It's not a lot, but you get paid. And there's food, and there's shelter, and there's medical and dental. Awesome. Commission only was so foreign
Sink
to
or
me.
Swim.
Yeah. It's like, there's no way. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm making really good money with my $30,000 a year right now after 8 years in the Marine Corps, not including the benefits, right? I'm like, I can't do commission only. Yeah. Like, I don't know anything about sales. That's one of I don't have a lot of regrets, but I really wish I did it back then, because knowing what I know now, I would have crushed it.
The book you would have had to be on, right?
Goodness, man, because I hit the ground running. But this copier dealership, they offered me, I think, $45,000 plus commission. It was so safe. And I'm like, I'll go knock on doors. And so I remember probably 6 months in, I had a really good month. And I get a commission check on top of everything for $7,000. I've never had a $7,000 commission check. Like, that was like, are you kidding me? You can make $7,000? I went to my manager. I was like, did you know you can make $7,000 here? This guy's making like $400,000 a year. He's like, yeah, let me show you my check. And he showed me his, and that thing was like in like $35,000.
Now you got a goal.
Like that. And I'm like, well, it just opened up this door of possibility. I didn't even think that was possible. So I vouch right there, I'll never have another check less than $7,000, because it felt so good, man. And that fire turned on, and I did really, really well. 8 months straight, not to brag, but I was the salesperson of the month. They did that, and they put a picture on the wall. And they had like this 12-month kind of bracket, and each month would be the picture of the guy. Yeah. It was my picture for 8 months. So I loved bringing clients in. I was like, oh, yeah, and here's, you're not dealing with some schmuck, right? That was cool. And then after that, I tried to do medical device sales, and got a job with Stryker.
Yep.
And I would be in the OR selling orthopedic trauma. So in Baltimore, if old lady falls down and breaks a hip, we sold the screws and plates for that. You get shot and you got a broken femoral bone or something, we sold those. So none of these were scheduled, which was the problem. And at this time, Julia and I had our first son. And so I would have days where I would leave at 5 a.m. I'm coming home at 7 p.m., garage doors opening, and I get a call from a hospital. Hey, we got a case, need you here with this stuff, and you have to go. So 6 months of that, I'm like, this ain't for me. I don't want to be on call. Xerox recruited me. I ended up being their sales manager, went on to become a director of sales for a smaller company. And so that kind of brings us to the transition into my own business.
Yeah.
If you want to go to that.
I do want to go to that. So what it sounds like, you started leading teams, right? Because you were overseeing a group of people. At that time, I know because I'm there, right? I mean, fortunately, I fell into the mortgage industry at 22, right? I had a little car lot, and I was selling cars. Some guy came, and the 7,000 is a number, because some guy came in to buy a car from me, and he's like, "You don't belong in this business. You belong in the mortgage business." And I'm like, "Man, you didn't see my math report cards back in school, man. I don't know about that. I know how to count money good, but mortgage just seemed like something I needed all this education for." And through those years, he showed me. He's like, "Let me show you what I made last week." He showed me a $7,000 check, and I said. And I'm looking at this guy, and you probably do the same as I do. I size him up. Like, if this cat can make $7,000 a week, I think I could at least do that, maybe even more. So I ended up, that's how I fell into it. But through that journey, my journey, I worked for a company. And then at first 2 years, I brought all my buddies in. I don't know, are you close to all your friends from back home? Like, do you have like a core group of friends? Like my group of friends, we're still friends, best friends today. We grew up together as kids, and like I stay in his house when I go to Boston. I got my own room. I don't even call him and let him know I'm coming, right? That's just kind of how we were. But back then it was like I found the mothership. And all these guys, my friends, the funny joke is I was the only schmuck that finished high school because I wasn't going to quit high school. It was 20. I stayed back a couple times. I struggled through school. All my friends quit school between 9th grade, 10th grade, and they all make 10 times more than me. So I was like, I was the idiot that finished school, right? Like, these guys killed it. But I brought all my friends in to this company, and within a year, we all figured out, all right, if I'm taking 50% of the commission only, which was scary, but I was okay with it because I was doing cars, which was, I don't make no money if I didn't sell cars, right? So we said, I'm taking 50%. I'm making $100,000. You're making $100,000. That means there's $100,000 there, $100,000 there, $100,000 there, 100, and who knows, maybe even more, because we think they're robbing us, right? We opened up our own office in '98. So I was managing people, training, sales training, because that's what you had to do in your other job. And is that where you fell in love with building people? Because my first mission statement of my first mortgage company was help everyone else around me get wealthy. And that goes from my clients to my employees. And I knew if I did a good job getting them where they needed to go, then I was going to get where I needed to go just by default. I didn't even need to look at the numbers because I can just help them get where they need to go. And that was my journey on going to all the Bob Proctors and the Jim Rohns and the Zig Ziglars and all these events. I probably spent more than most people spend on colleges doing all this stuff, right? And I just fell in love with that part of it. I never took it to the level where you've taken it now, where you took all those skills that you passed on to other people, helped them get somewhere. Now you transition from running teams in the copying business space to being here, right? And helping other people, many different industries, right? They don't necessarily have to do one thing. You help guys. I'm a mortgage guy. I see people that do network marketing in your groups. I see people who sell insurance in your groups, and you're helping them get to where they want to go by, whether it's just simple structures, right? Time blocking and just all those key simple things, simple tasks that we always all put on that back burner because we feel like it's work, or in some cases it could be self-sabotage. What if I do succeed? I think a lot of people have that fear of success. Like, what does that look like? So what took you from having a great job, right? Sounds like you were killing it with Xerox, right? And saying, you know what, I'm transitioning. And did you do that in Maryland? It sounds like, from my understanding from our conversations, you started that journey up in Maryland and took it, and now it's snowballed since you've gotten here.
Yeah, so there's a lot there. So at Xerox, it's very corporate. Here's a binder. Here's our SOP. This is how you manage, right? Yeah. These are the interview questions. This is not much room for creativity. Correct. As a sales manager. And I got recruited by a smaller company, DCA Imaging Systems.
Okay.
Let me paint the picture for you. The person who founded the company founded it as like a copy or service company decades ago. Today, I think they're 50 plus years old. The father, and so he ended up passing away, gave the business to his wife. She's the CEO. Her son is the president. His wife is human resources. Their kids are marketing. And everybody they know from church is either the truck driver or sales.
Okay.
Or customer service. That's the setup of this company. And I think there was about 20 people at the time that I got there. So here comes Eric. And
Big ideas,
right? But the president, Vince, he saw something in me. He's like, hey, I want to grow this thing. We've been at this place for a while. I want to grow it. You're just the guy to do it. Great. Except for I couldn't lead that team to save my life because they've been there for 16 years. They all know Vince from church and being friends.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, hey, let's try this. And they're like, why do we need this guy here? So nobody's taking me on any client appointments. Nobody's sharing what they got going on with me. And they don't want me there. And here I am, this director of sales, right? With no one to direct.
Guy? Yeah.
I could barely direct myself, man. So I'm like literally sitting in this office, like there's no people to lead. Nobody wants to take me anywhere. Nobody wants to talk to me. They're not even showing up for my meetings. So I'm like, I gotta change this, dude.
Yeah.
And I've always been a pretty early morning riser. So before work, I would be on the treadmill or the stair stepper, and with my YouTube, my online university YouTube, right?
That's it.
I'm like, leadership traits, leadership skills, how to lead a team, and I would just watch these videos, and John Maxwell kept popping up. John Maxwell. So I started buying his books and reading the books. And then I guess Amazon told Google, and Google told John Maxwell, and somebody from John Maxwell called me up, and they're like, hey, we see you're buying a ton of our stuff.
Yeah.
Did you know we have a team? And I'm like, what's this team all about? And the team is, if you want to, they have two sides. One is you develop yourself as a leader. The other side is they help you start and teach you how to start a leadership training and coaching company using John's material as stuff or things to teach. So I went in purely thinking that I'm just going to develop my leadership skills. So I invested the $5,000 that it was at the time, got immersed in this online university.
Plugged right in.
Yeah. Met John, went to a bunch of conferences, and began to apply everything I was learning, and the whole ship started turning around to the point where people who didn't want me there are now inviting me to their house for like barbecues on Saturday, and revenues were growing. I had to get rid of one guy. We hired a few more people, and the company did. I mean, we just started,
climbing.
I think we tripled in size.
Wow.
In like 4 years, all because of leadership. So when you're immersed in this John Maxwell environment, you're hopping on calls, and there's calls of people that are like, yeah, I started this training company, or they're already trainers, and they're talking about their successes and what they're doing and things like that.
Yeah.
So I started getting curious. Their business model is run mastermind groups. So I show up to your mortgage company. I say, hey, Chris, I got a 10-week program. We're going to meet once a week for an hour. We're going to do this study. I'll facilitate it. At the end of it, your people are going to be better leaders, and we're going to do it on either Leadership Gold or 15 Laws of Growth or 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. You're going to love it, right? And I'll do it for free.
No brainer.
No brainer. So now I'm going into companies and I'm leading teams. So anyway, so once you're in there, now they need leadership coaching. Another team needs something. And
individual
so
coaching. So now you kind of pick up,
Yeah, you just got to make sure you come in and you deliver.
That's it.
And you do a good job. And once you do, then it just spreads like wildfire. And this is the results people were getting. So I'm like, okay, cold called 10 business owners I knew in Baltimore. I'm like, hey, I want to try this thing out. It's going to be free. I just need an office space. For 10 weeks, we're going to get together 7:30 p.m. on Wednesday, and I'm going to facilitate based on this book. And they're like, great. At the end of the 10 weeks, 4 of them came to me, and they're like, what do you have? What do we need to do, or how much do you charge to come in and do this in my company?
Oh, to their companies.
Yeah, to their managers, right? Because these are the owners of the companies, but they had teams and leaders that they wanted to develop, and they saw the value in it. So I'm like, $3,000. Like I just threw out a number, and they all agreed, and just like that, I made $12,000, and I started the Goal Guide.
Okay.
So then I go to Vince, and I'm like, V, I love you, man, but I'm gonna resign, and I'm resigning because I found this thing. I really want to go do this. I see the value in leadership development, training. I want to do this. He says, what do I have to do to keep you? I'm like, I found my passion, man.
Yeah.
He's like, listen, just give me 24 hours. Let me think on it. Just don't make any rash decisions tonight. I said, okay, cool. Next day we meet again. He gives me a piece of paper. He said, okay, I'm going to give you a raise. You can start your company. As long as our sales numbers continue to grow the way they've been growing, you can do whatever you want. I'm like, I looked at him, I'm like, why would you do that? He's like, I'll tell you one day.
Wow.
And so
I get chills when you
it's a blessing and a curse, Chris, because there was no fire. There was none of that, like, oh, I can make $7,000. Like, I got to go do this, right? I got a brand new wife, like starting a life. Like, we were making money I could never even imagine before. And this wasn't that. This was like, I got a 6-figure salary. Like, if I do nothing.
You don't
I'm making over 6 figures.
I get what you mean. Your back wasn't against the wall.
No back against the wall. And so my business, it didn't skyrocket. I didn't need to cold call anyone. It's easier. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but it's easier not to cold call anybody.
Yeah. That phone weighs, we've been taught the phone weighs 10,000 pounds. Get off the phone. Get off the phone.
So all those things that would have been great to do as a entrepreneur on fire with that momentum that I had from those 4 clients turned into like a Pinto that like putted along, and like every now and then I'd get hey, Eric did a good job for us. Come do this for us. Come do this for us. And it was enough to make some kind of an income, and I really enjoyed it, but I didn't have to do it.
You didn't have to.
And but I did get enough. It wasn't like nothing. I was making a substantial amount of income.
But it wasn't the 6+ figures you would have made in the first year if you would have plugged 100% in.
Yes.
It was just kind of like, okay, this will be my part-time gig. I got my comfort here with my 100,000+ coming in no matter what, and I'll just tinker with this thing on the side, and maybe the people you were working with knew it wasn't 100% of what they were getting right out of the gate, and it kind of was there, and it was there because they liked you, and you did show that they were getting something output out of it, right? And then you were doing that up there, and then when you came. Is that about the same time you were moving down here?
No, so this is 2015.
Okay, so we still got about 4 years of you bouncing back and forth.
Yeah, I was doing both.
Right.
And it's 2015, and Vince and I worked together really well. When I moved down here, I still had that job.
Oh, you still had that? Were you opening up a territory for him, though?
No.
Oh, you were just working remote?
Yeah, so COVID hit. My team has been kind of remote because we had Northern Virginia, D.C., and a big part of Maryland. So they've been remote. I think I almost like checked out.
It was your way, I think, I'm just thinking out loud, but subconsciously you knew in order for you to do your dream, it sounds like you had to move away.
No, I knew I wanted to move to Florida. Like
you knew you wanted to move away.
Yeah, I needed to be out of there to come here to Lakewood Ranch because it's paradise
What
here.
brought you, and I'm going to talk because I'm going to be a little selfish. I'm going to talk about a mortgage program a little bit that Eric did, and I think it's important for you all to hear about this program. So I don't know if people know about it, but what brought you, where did you hear about Lakewood Ranch? Did you have friends here? Did you have family here?
So I told Julia, I'm like, listen, I want to move to Florida. I just want to be near the beach. We got 2 boys. They're young. She's like, so Miami's out. Like, I don't want to raise them in Miami. I don't want the East Coast. We hear some good things about the West Coast. Now, she's a researcher. I'm like the action taker. So she gets on mom's groups, and we were thinking Naples because you hear a lot about Naples. You don't hear anything about Lakewood Ranch or Sarasota or none of that. So Naples was our spot. And so she's in mom's group checking out like schools and communities for kids. And there were crickets in Naples, but a realtor hopped in who happens to live in your neighborhood. And she connected with Julia, and she said, have you heard of Lakewood Ranch? And Julia's like, no, I haven't. And so we flew down here. She did an amazing job, gave us a tour.
Brought you to all the spots.
All the spots. She even took us on that 4-hour bus tour from Main Street. Did you know they do that? Yeah,
they get the trolley thing, right, that they do?
No. On Main Street in Lakewood Ranch.
Do they still do that?
I don't know if they still do that now. So this is 2019 maybe.
What do they bring you to all the different, what are
all the communities back then?
They don't call them communities, they call them villages here.
Villages. Right? We're not going to say villages, right? We're going to say communities. So you get on this bus, and there's like, for 4 hours, they drive you around and show you everything and tell you the plans for the future. So we fell in love, and knew that this is where we're going to go.
Good schools for your kids, right?
Yeah. So then I went to Vince again. I'm like, hey, you know, I'm going to be moving, man. So let's come up with a plan, whatever, however I can help you. And at this point, COVID's full throttle. You couldn't really sell in DC. So I moved down here. I still managed the team and led the team remotely. And then we got to a point, we literally had a few $1 million in signed contracts that the manufacturers couldn't get into ports.
Okay.
That chip shortage that happened.
Yeah, the chip shortage, the China chips and all that stuff.
Yeah, and then the ports weren't letting anything in without inspection. So you had
trucks weren't running right.
Trucks weren't running. There's so much problem. So we don't get paid like the way in the copier industry. The way you get paid is when you deliver and install equipment. So you sign a contract today, great.
Yeah,
but nothing happens
because you get paid per page, right? You don't get paid until they're using the machine.
Exactly.
Right.
That's for the service, but then there's also a lease. But the lease doesn't get ratified. So if you signed a 5-year or 3-year lease on your copy machine, let's say it's a $50,000 copier and you're paying $1,000 a month on a 5-year agreement. We don't get paid until you sign the contract saying that, hey, it was delivered. I'm happy with everything.
Correct.
Well, we can't deliver. So we got these contracts.
Problem.
They don't mean anything, right?
So now you put your back against. Now your back is starting to get against the wall.
Well, no. Now Vince calls and he's like, "Hey, man," and he's crying. He's like, "I can't believe I have to do this, but we got to part ways. I can't even afford to pay anymore." And I'm like,
which means now I put myself in a position where I have to start swinging because now I live in this damn place where it's growing fast.
It's growing fast.
It's getting expensive, and things are happening. So let's.
But at this point, Chris, I had a few clients. I had some coaching, like one-on-one executive coaching clients. I was an outsourced like sales manager for a company that provided managed IT services. So I had money coming in.
So you had a good platform. You had a good base, a good foundation.
Had
ready
a good
to go.
base, and then with COVID, the company that I was helping out, they had a location in Ukraine. Ukraine popped off, like right in Kiev, and that contract stopped, and one of my coaching agreements ended, and now it's like
this is real.
We got some savings, but now it's real, right? So yeah, here we are, man.
Yeah, and I think that was probably so. Let's walk through this one point because I do want to talk about the VA loan because
let's do it.
I think what happens. I've been doing this. I've been doing mortgages now for 26 years, and in my 26 years, I find the VA loan is one of those programs that not enough people, even veterans, are educated or know enough about. I've seen veterans come to me, apply for a regular mortgage, and I educate them into go into the VA loan because it's the best. I think bar none out of every single lending program out there, the VA loan is the best program for a few reasons. One, the rates are a little better, right? So it's a better serves the veteran. Mm-hmm. Two, underwriters will fight to get that approved because they want to help the veterans. Where a regular underwriter might just knock a deal out, where an underwriter for a VA loan, they're going to do whatever it takes to get that loan approved. So the misconception in the real estate world for realtors is they think it's more difficult for whatever reason because it's 100%, or they don't want to hear VA. They want to hear people putting down a lot of money. I have these conversations on a regular basis. I just had one last week with a realtor's like, I'm just concerned with the 100% VA.
I think it's because of the builders, right? Now builders had what happened in the last few years? Builders are creating auctions internally, like
correct.
And you got all these folks moving down with cash. So if you're a builder, what are you taking?
You're taking the cash.
You're taking the cash, unless they're financing through the builder. Right?
Correct. Yeah, they want to make the double dip on it. Yeah. So, and I think with the VA loan, the misconception is it's 100%. Not that these vets couldn't put money down, but they don't have to.
They don't have to.
Why would they? And there's a lot of different benefits to it for them as far as some of the costs are reduced, as well as mortgage insurance and all these different things that don't apply to that loan that apply to other loans.
And on the back end, how does that work? Like the Veterans Affairs guarantees that this loan will be made, right? So the lender, it's not like the VA is given a loan. They're not a bank.
They're just backing it.
They're backing it. So imagine as a veteran, you're showing up and you got the Department of Veterans Affairs behind you saying, we got him. Hey, Mr. Lender,
Correct.
give him the loan because
We're
know,
going to do
give
what
him
we can to
100%.
give him this money. We're going to do whatever
Yeah.
it takes to get this guy the money. You have to be approved with your credit. You have to have the income. So if you
Yeah.
check those boxes and you have a pre-qualification or pre-approval for
Golden.
a VA loan, it's as good as cash in my book, the way I look at it. So my question to you is, how did you educate yourself? Was it something that the military helped you with when you got out?
Hell no.
Right? They didn't talk about the VA loan. You just knew that there was this VA product or program out there, right?
Yeah, I don't even know. I think it's guys like you. The very first time I did it, so one of my friends, like the buddies that you're talking about, he's a more similar story to you, by the way. He's a beast, but he's got a mortgage company in Baltimore.
Okay.
And so, he's the one that, hey, Eric, did you know that you got veterans benefits and this and that? Do you have a disability? Yeah, what is it? If it's this rating, you get X amount.
You get a lot.
And it's guys like you who educate people like us. Like, I'm not in the mortgage industry, so I'm not going to go learn. Like, I don't need to. There's some people that will Google and try to learn.
Yeah.
And what you find in the land of Google half the time is going to take you down a rabbit hole that's going to end up selling you some stuff you don't need. And so I highly recommend, like, before buying a house, the steps that I would recommend for veterans or anybody to do is first talk to the mortgage people to see what do you qualify for. Don't even talk to the realtor, because how do you know what you have or available or not? So I would call Chris. Chris says, here, based on your credit, based on your income, here's what you qualify for. And now I can call my realtor and say, hey, here's what I qualify for. I'd like to be in these different school districts or whatever is important to you.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at homes, and you cut out so much fluff.
You get right to the point. So you were fortunate enough to have a friend that was in a business.
Yeah.
We probably had the same kind of friend groups, it sounds like, because we were like
I think so.
the hard knock life kids, right? We're bumping around and running the street.
Yeah.
And kind of just getting it done. And you all kind of fell into this place. So you land here, you take on the VA loan, you find the house, and I almost moved into your community too. I love your community, by the way. You guys got great amenity centers. It's a lifestyle, right?
We can house swap. I'm sure my kids would love that.
we could trade off. It'd be like a staycation every once in a while, right? Walk me through. So we met 2 years ago. How many years have you? So you've been here for 2 or 3?
We just hit 3 in December.
Okay. So you were here a year before you kind of fell into my other friend group with the F3 guys. And for those of you listening who live down here, F3 stands for faith, fellowship, fitness, right? And it's our 3 core values. And I'll be giving a plug for them because I think it's changed. I can't necessarily say it's changed my life, but the friends and the relationships.
It's changed your life, dude. You're running Ironman.
Yeah,
now.
you're right. I'm running Ironman.
You would not be Ironman, Chris, without F3. And there's so many lessons here, right? So just how I got involved in it, when I came down here, I started networking, and there was a group called C12. And it's like the Christian 12, and they're in like leadership coaching and training based on Christian values. And so I met one of the guys, and I said, hey, why don't we grab lunch? I just want to learn about what you guys do, maybe throw business your way and back and forth. My history with John Maxwell, that's all Christian-based, leadership principles too. And so I'm sitting down with him, and I said, listen, I don't go to a working office. I don't go to a church or a synagogue. Where do you meet dudes? Like everybody in my neighborhood.
I don't want to go to the bar.
Yeah, like we're boozing all the time. Like that's not what I want to do. Like, where do you just meet a group of dudes? He said, well, I don't do this, but my buddy, he does this thing called F3. And this was on Tuesday, and I know it was Tuesday because
we met on a Wednesday.
And he said, I'll connect you guys. So he connects me to Wolverine, Greg Warmbier, and literally
I brought in.
You brought him in. Full circle.
Yeah.
And literally he says, I texted, say, hey, I heard you got this F3 group. I'm interested. He said, tomorrow morning, 5:15, this Publix parking lot on University in Lorraine.
Like, what am I getting myself into?
Well, I'm up anyway because I work out early. I was like, yeah, great. So I show up, and it was
like
all over.
20-something guys, right?
20-something guys going nuts. You were there, I think, on my
I was
first
there
one.
your first one. I remember that's why I said in the beginning, I was intrigued by some of the things that we talked about. Look, you guys, you're watching this guy. He's in great shape, right? I mean, you were in great shape when you walked into F3, and
Thank you.
You were sharp. We do a little after-hour coffee thing, and you were throwing in your your opinions on some of our topics I would talk about. Man, I say this guy's got his stuff together, man.
Well, we talk leadership. Yeah, I remember us hitting it off.
Yeah.
With Zig Ziglar and Bob Proctor stuff.
And I'm like, man, I need to know more. And then we became friends, and then I used some of your coaching, which kind of brings us as we kind of not completely wrap up, but tell me about what you do right now and how you're helping people like me. And, I'm in just one section of it. I know that you've helped other friends where you've gone into our good friend Steve Martin, who's a financial planner with SRQ Wealth out here. Welcome, Steve.
Steve is awesome.
Right? Steve's a great friend, and I know you've been there and helped his team with going through the DISC profile, which I used to, since 2005, I make all my employees take the DISC. And I'll tell you a quick story on my experience with DISC, because I don't want to say got divorced, but it caused a little bit of a rift in my house for a little bit, because my wife, who's been working with me for 23 years, was in a different role than she is today because of the DISC back then. And she thought I was downgrading her because it wasn't her perfect fit. She was doing something that she wasn't happy. And I adjusted and moved a bunch of people around in my company, and it was very uncomfortable, if you will, is a good word for it. It was uncomfortable because people weren't happy about it, but I knew it had to be done in order to put us on the right track.
Yeah.
And the DISC definitely, it helps us communicate with the people that we're working with in the way they need to be communicated with. And it's not necessarily they want to be, because you can do things that people want that isn't good for the company, but you can do things that they need, and it will help the growth of the company, because will keep moving the company in the direction that needs to go. So that is a huge piece. And you guys have a system on how you guys do it where it kind of makes it simple, like you're talking to a sixth grader.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So which
very
is
memorable.
Awesome. Yeah, so why don't you kind of walk through some of your services, some of the things, some of the life changes or business changes that you're seeing, and some of the clients that you're working with here now that you've grown a pretty big platform now. I know this because you're part of the Lakewood Ranch Business Alliance. I see you plugging right into all this stuff. So in a short period of time, I think you and I came here, we did the same thing. We hit the ground running, and I ran hard, joined everything I could, and I'm trying to be everywhere. But you kind of actually took some leadership roles in some of these other organizations, which I'm sure is helpful for your business. So walk us through some of the things that you've done, that you're doing, and how you can help some of the viewers that are here. Because I have a lot of clients that are watching this that are moving here from different parts of the country, and they might have had some of these services, and maybe they could do it remote, but they would love to have someone that's hands-on that can help them, or even just help them get started somewhere, or point them or connect them with some people. Because I consider myself a super connector. You do too. You have a wide reach of people. So give us it, Eric. Tell us what you got.
Yeah, man. So there's a few different things. There's the corporate side, and then there's individual side. On the corporate side, what we do is sales training. I think I got probably the best sales training out there. And the reason for that is because we teach you how to sell using the DISC method. So how do you identify the person that you're talking to, and how do you sell to them in the way that they like to buy things? Mm-hmm. Not in the way you like to buy things, which is natural for most of us, right? Yeah. So that's number one. Number two, on corporate side, we do the DISC training for internal teams. How do you guys learn about each other and communicate so that you can have a more cohesive team, so leaders can lead their people better and followers can follow better, have more of a appreciation and respect for one another. That's what happens once people understand how to communicate with one another.
Explain real quick, because I didn't go this. You and I have been doing DISC for many, many, many years. People don't know what I'm saying. DISC to everyone watching, like, what the heck is a DISC? Are they playing frisbee golf? What's going on? What does DISC stand for? Just a quick overview on what that means, so people can wrap their head around that.
Yeah, DISC is just a personality style. It's not owned by anybody. Anyone can go and create their own DISC assessment if they wanted to. It was actually invented by a professor, William Marston, back in the day, right? But if you can go back centuries and realize that people's personalities have always been put in 4 categories. Like before, they would say, earth, wind, fire, and water, right? Like that's 4 personalities. They would have different animals that would do it. DISC just says the same thing. And Marston was a weird guy. And there's actually a movie of, like, he's the one that created Wonder Woman.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the guy that invented the Wonder Woman character created this. So he was into some freaky stuff back then, like had 2 girlfriends and, so for him, like D stood for dominance and like that.
Yeah.
The way we do it is we use birds. So there's 4 different behavioral style. You have your kind of dominant, that's your eagle, interactive, that's your parrot. He would call the S as submissive.
Yeah.
But those are your doves. They're very caring. And then conscientious style is the owl. So those are the 4 different personality behavioral styles that you're going to deal with. We need to understand that you don't want to talk to the dominant person the way you're going to talk to a submissive person and vice versa.
Correct.
Right? One you need to nurture. The other one you got to give them facts.
Get to the point.
On the other side, one you need to give all the details.
Right.
The other one just wants to have fun and stop paying attention after your second word in the sentence. That would be Chris, right?
Yeah.
So you got to know how to communicate with people. We teach teams how to do that.
Nice.
And then through my, as a certified leadership coach, I coach executives on how to be better leaders. So that's the corporate side. On a more personal side, I have coaching, life coaching. Look at a person as a whole. Most people come to me because they want to grow their business, they want to grow their sales, they want to be a better husband, they're procrastinating, and they want to set goals and achieve them, but they have these aspirations, but they don't know how to start, whatever it is. At the end of the day, it all boils down to one thing, and that's your self-image. We'll never, ever outperform our self-image, our internal self-image. And on the highest level, we've been programmed to be who we are since we were young.
Yep.
So there's no faculty of reasoning when you're 5 years old. That's why you can believe that there's a jolly red guy, right, who lives in the North Pole, who makes toys with a bunch of elves, and one night a year he, hops on a sleigh and flies around the whole world in one night with a bag of toys, and he has a list of every kid who's been nice and who's been naughty, and he'll come down your chimney even if you don't have a chimney, and he'll bring you toys, right? And we believed all of this. Right? Because there was nothing in there that said, nah, that ain't right.
Yeah.
That's not true, right?
So you wake up
and
at 10 years old.
One reindeer has a nose that glows so he could see, right? But do we ever ask, what else has been programmed into us up until that point that we didn't have a reasoning faculty to say, nah, that's not true?
That's right.
And what did your little mind make out to mean when your mom said or your dad said, oh, you suck at that? Or, oh, you're so bad at this, or you're terrible at that. You can never do this. Chris, why are you so messy all the time? Why don't you pay attention? Why are you so stupid? Back when we were growing up, parents could say you're stupid.
Yeah.
Now we're a little more sensitive to kids. But why are you so dumb, right? What did that mean to you?
What did that impact? How does that impacted what you're doing?
It created you. And so now that little mind that was told it was stupid is 35, 40 years old with aspirations, and you want to start a business, and you're like, yeah, I'm going to go do this. But you're too stupid. Why would you? Stupid people don't start businesses.
So you pause and then you don't go forward.
You don't go forward. You freeze.
Or you get involved in it. You try to do it, but then you run away from it because you don't have that person or that coach. I had my first business coach at 2002, and what I want to say here is, to your point, is I always knew I needed someone to hold me accountable because of some of the dysfunction and how I grew up, or whatever baggage that I carried that I needed to undo, and maybe some of the education I didn't have on time blocking and stuff like that. So, I've been a coaching cheerleader since 2002, and I have multiple coaches. I spend a good amount of money, but I always see the return on what they do, because you're seeing something out of me that I don't see, right? And we can tweak it because you're sitting on the outside. I'm in it. I'm in the middle of it. There's a lot of moving parts in life, and you're going this way, that way, and sometimes you need that person that this is their job. They know how to identify these issues because they see it from a different lens, and they know how to help you correct it. Now, you have to do your part and do your part of it, right? And as long as you do, it's like Michael Jordan had a coach.
I'm Brady. You're a Boston
I'm Brady,
guy, right?
Yeah. So I think anyone watching out there, if you're new to this area and you're either you own a business or you work for a company and you're trying to step your game up to the next level, I think you want to talk to someone like you, Eric. Talk to you and
only if you're smart. If you're smart and intelligent, you'd want to talk to me. Yeah. Chris, as a coach, I know I'm having fun. We got to wrap it up real quick. the process for my coaching is first to uncover that program that's running people that they don't even know is running them. Bring that to consciousness, make sure you understand what that is. And then if it's not serving you, if it's not getting you closer to the goals and dreams that you truly have, to program a new program that will.
Yeah.
And then put your life on easy so that you can get to where you want to go. That's what coaching is.
That's it.
And that's how I help people.
Great. So to wrap it up, I really appreciate you taking the time out of your day to come out here, man.
So great.
This has been fun. Now I can check some of those questions that I had on you, like with all these little tidbits you give me. I'm like, oh man, I need to know more. We got a lot in here. I think we could do this again and even dive deeper in some stuff, which would be really cool. But how do people get a hold of you? Where do you have a website that you want to share? And
yeah, thegoalguide.com. We have a Facebook community called Relentless Goal Achievers. I have a podcast called Relentless Goal Achievers. And Eric Konovalov, anywhere you look, there aren't too many of me.
Kona of Olives. I know
Kona
that.
of Olives, yeah.
I seen that on LinkedIn. That way people will know
That's
how
how I
to
broke
pronounce
it down. Yeah.
But that's great. So I hope people reach out to you. If you're looking for a mortgage, reach out to us at,
Sure.
You can look me up. I'm on every social network, Facebook, Twitter. You can go to cgalley@novishomemortgage.com and you can find that if you want mortgage questions. But again, thanks for coming out today, my friend.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to be your friend,
Yeah.
man. It's great. And,
Likewise.
and a coach to me. So thank you.
Thank
and
you.
thank you guys all for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.